Colts at Chiefs at Arrowhead. The Chiefs, the 500 Chiefs, are 3.5-point favorites against the Colts team with potentially, possibly, however you want to look at it, the best offense or one of the best offenses in the NFL, a defense that just got Sauce Gardner, and a team just coming off a bye week. And they are underdogs on the road against the Chiefs. The over-under is 50.5 points. So, woohoo, strap in. Can't wait. But we're going to start with when the Colts have the ball against Steve Spagnuolo and this Chiefs defense. What do you think about this side of the ball, Chuck? What do you got?
I think this year has been unbelievable for the Colts, and particularly Daniel Jones. Just as someone who covered him at the start of his career to now, I didn't expect this happening. I don't think a lot of people expect this happening. And the fact that they're even in this position is crazy. But there have been a couple cracks, I think, showing in the passing game, basically mostly related to Daniel Jones over the past few weeks, where this is a great situation for him. It's obviously the best situation he's ever played in his whole career. But it's still got some Daniel Jones tendency. When you go back to that Falcons game that they won, he was sacked 7 times in that game. And a lot of the times it seemed like he could have done a little something to get rid of the ball or make life a little bit easier. So I think in this game, when you just look, and I know a lot of it's anecdotal because they've only been an above average defense up to this point in the year. But when you get to Daniel Jones kind of dropping back against a Chiefs team that needs to stack wins, they have got to start winning today if they want to even make the playoffs, which is a crazy thing to say about the Chiefs. I think you just kind of get big and take the big game out of his hands, because that's one of the spots that the Colts do have an advantage against the Chiefs defense, where I use your little stat of looking at plays where they just have up to 2 receivers on the field, so mostly 21 and 12 personnel. And it's what you expect from the Colts. If you've watched them play, you wouldn't be surprised to know that when they have their big boys on the field, first in EPA, EPA per play, rushing stats, just dominant when they get big on offense. But the Chiefs on the other side, they're 25th in dropback success rate, 24th in rushing success rate. Just not quite exactly where you want to be going against an offense like this. And with the Chiefs offense, I'm still in on the Chiefs offense. I know they didn't have a great game last week. I'm still in this Chiefs offense. I think you just want to keep the game out of Daniel Jones' hands. You don't want to get in these situations where you're dropping back. So just get big and just try to beat them up, because that's what you've done best all year. And that's kind of what the Chiefs struggle with a little bit.
In the weirdest way, this is almost a 1 versus 2 in the AFC in some way, shape, or form. It depends what you look at. The Bills are up there too as well. I think everybody, not only us, on the Sunday show, I even asked you spur of the moment. I was like, how would you power rank the AFC? And you're kind of I guess the Bills. And it's just kind of but that's the same. And I've done 2 shows now this week, both Football 301 and another show, where I was I think I'm the Chiefs. And then it's also the Colts are up there too, but any way you look at it, there's 2 of the best teams in the AFC. And that's why I think but I have more questions about this game than more a preview of this game, because it's just, I want to see what the Colts do after their bye week. I want to see if the Chiefs kind of take that next step. I'm kind of with you, once we talk about the Chiefs offense, where I'm just kind of I'm not out on this at all. It's actually a lot better than you would think, stat wise and eye test wise. Them and the Packers, I'm telling you, those are the 2 teams every week I'll rewatch and I'm oh my God, you're so much better than what I think on Sunday. But just focused on this side, Colts offense, Chiefs defense, all that stuff you mentioned, got to look at it. I also was looking at, or just kind of trying to remember, Shane Steichen versus Spags in the Super Bowl, the Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl, the first time. So that would have been the 2022 season. I'm not going to act like I know the Super Bowl number, Roman numerals off the top of my head. So the 2022 season, in that game, and I remember this, and it's something I've been wanting the Eagles to get back to with Jalen Hurts, because I think it would help them, is tempo. Was that they used a lot of tempo in that game to kind of just make Spags simple. And I really like that. And they tested him deep. It's not like Spagnuolo is playing DB, but they tested the Chiefs DBs deep in that game, if I remember correctly. There's some play action shots. There's some go balls, one to Devontae Smith out of tempo. I can remember it happened yesterday. Some under center stuff. So I was just thinking that I know the Colts offense right now is a little bit different, a good amount different than what they were doing in Philly. But I do think that there is some things from that I'm looking at. I think maybe they sprinkle in a little tempo. I also think this could be a big Downs or Warren game for the Colts, because I've noticed that this is how the Chiefs just feel less effective as blitzers this year. Like I numeric and numbers wise, that kind of bears it out. They're a little bit, they've taken a step back as far as how they've impacted offenses as blitzers, but it's still always there. It's like just because a bully didn't hit you that one time doesn't mean they're going to hit you not hit you the next time. Like just because you struck out Barry Bonds doesn't mean he can jack it 500 feet on the next one. But I'm wondering if the Colts, that's what I've noticed, that kind of some offenses have really worked on a lot of outbreakers to take advantage of how the Chiefs are zone blitzers. Okay. So there's a difference between like man blitzing, like the Texans do, or the Lions do, and what the Broncos a little bit do, and what Spags and the Chiefs do, which is it's kind of more Flores as well. Just trying to think who else is in this, where they run split safeties and they run zone pressures. And usually the weaknesses of zone pressures is kind of the intermediate areas, or I want to say the stick area is what I call it, but it's like 5 to 10 yards in between the numbers and the hash. I would say that's the area you attack, which makes sense. So think like defenders showing, they bail out of there. They're playing inside out. So if you run an outbreaker from the slot or from the tight end spot, that's what you can pepper. And I've seen some teams getting that to a little more. They're like, okay, George Karlaftis is going to just be hauling ass 10 yards outside from the line. Okay, we'll just, it's like, I'll just pepper him. It's like George, Karlaftis is playing really well this year, but it's just a physics thing. Like he's not going to be able to defend that. And so that's something I'm curious. Do the Colts do some more RPOs? They haven't done as many this year as they've done in the past. So do they get to more of that? Is Downs getting peppered on choice routes? Is Warren getting peppered from the tight end spot? That's kind of just what I'm looking for more than anything. And if I rewatched against that Broncos offense, the Broncos just hit their plays. And the Chiefs, though, down to down, were pretty dang good throughout that game. So they're like a 12th best defense right now, 14th. That's how I kind of feel when I watch them. Going against one of the best offenses in the NFL, what kind of answers does Spags come up with in this game? It's again, so it's more questions I have than like, this is what's going to happen in this game.
Yeah. This is like caveman-ish, but I guess I'm just wondering, like, can the Chiefs like just physically just get in there and hit them enough times where they can kind of stop the run and put them in bad situations? Because one thing I was looking at was just like early down run offense and run defense. The Indianapolis Colts on first and second down this season are averaging 4.4 yards before contact on rushing plays. Like that's terrifying. Like that sounds scary. That's
like half a first down before Jonathan Taylor even gets touched.
Yeah, before he gets touched. They're in their first in EPA, first in negative rushes, and the Chiefs are honestly close to the bottom of the league in terms of first down, early down rush defense. So that's one of those ways where the game kind of becomes simple, and like, man, are you going to just get your face in a fit and hit somebody and try to tackle Jonathan Taylor? Because if not, then like they can do those things where they sit on the ball, and Patrick Mahomes is not, getting as many drives as he wants. Where, I mean, that's where I get kind of scared about where the Chiefs are right now, because obviously they need to win this game, and I kind of do think they are going to, but this is a tough opponent to draw like right at this point in the season when you need it, because because the Colts, like, they can sit on the ball, and some of their strengths I think really align, well for the Chiefs, or well for the Colts and poorly for the Chiefs when you look at this matchup.
That's kind of how I look at it too. I know that again, I'm kind of like, do you have any answers against this? Because the Colts, like the things that get them is you try and turn Daniel Jones into pumpkin. How you do that is pressure. They're really well protected as far as their scheme. I think Tony Brown Jr. has done a really good job. The only times it's been discombobulated was the Rams and Steelers games. And in those games, it was because guys were winning one-on-ones. All right, the Chiefs have Chris Jones. So, okay, you got one guy, and George Karlaftis is nice. He's a good pocket pusher. I think he's had a real good year this year. But it's kind of, there's no one really on the edge where I'm like, oh, yeah, they can really get after, Raymond, at left tackle, Bernard Raymond. Like, that's what really was winning for the Steelers, was he was just not getting chip help, was losing one-on-ones, and then that was creating pressure, but you have to win one-on-ones. So that's another thing, is like, do the Chiefs have that? And if their blitzes aren't as good, this Colts team is good at answering against blitzes. Like you said, with the term I've kind of come to always is natural answers. The Colts just have a lot of natural answers on this side of the ball, even if I do think that the Chiefs defense is above average. And another thing too, I'm curious, this is kind of just what I've noticed too, is like how comfortable Daniel Jones is in the offense and how Steichen is using him. Like they are doing some easy buttons with the slot choice routes and everything like that, some bootlegs, but not as many design runs with Daniel Jones this year. He has 15 design runs this year. His last year with
Only
the
15, wow.
Giants, God, he just...
That was single wing offense, basically. Like Dable would have whole stretches where they would run a single wing offense for drives at a time. I'm trying to remember which game it was.
All right, so he didn't play every game he played 10 games with the Giants last year, I think. That seems right. How many design runs do you think he had? He has 15 all this year. And he
in 10
played
games
about the same
last
amount
year,
of games as.
I'm going to guess 65.
Yeah, 43 design runs
43
in 10 games, and he has a third of that. A third of that so far this year. Like that is, they have 10 games the same amount that they played this year, and he has a third of what he had last year. And that's because, I mean, shoot, just watch how Dable, RIP, used Jackson Dart this year, which was just battering ram.
Crazy.
Like it was just crazy. I keep calling him Gron from freaking Lord of the Rings. They just use this guy as a battering ram. So I just kept thinking that's how Steichen was going to use Daniel Jones. Oh, okay, design runs, slot choice routes. And it actually turns out Steichen might be a better coach than Brian Dable and actually understands offensive stuff a little bit better. So, I'm curious if this is one of those games where we might see that sprinkled in just a couple times, just a couple zone reads, take advantage of some of the aggressiveness, some of the blitzing that the Chiefs do as well.
You got to be a little careful with these coaches that are on their last legs. So you look at what went on with Jackson Dart, Brian Dale. You see what's going on with Raheem Morris in Atlanta. You might want to let these guys go a year before it gets bad, and they're like doing anything to save their jobs, including putting the franchise quarterback in harm's way. Honestly, for both teams, because Raheem said Penix could have gone back in that game, which is, hey, Penix went back in that game, that would have been really, really bad.
And now he needs what? An ACL reconstruction? Oh, man.
Yeah. Also, I need to correct myself. We'll talk about we'll talk about the Falcons. I need to correct myself, though. It was actually 4.4 yards after contact. They're close to 2 yards before contact, but both are top.
Okay, I was going to say.
The yards
Still, anything above 2 is elite. Anything above 2 is elite.
Yeah.
Like, I think the Bears lead the league right now, like 2.08 or something like that.
Yeah.
Just regardless, that's why I know that.
The point remains. It's going to be tough to stop them, and you're going to have to be physical, and that's not something the Chiefs have always been great at this season.
And especially if the if you get the Chiefs' big bodies on the field, they just become so simplistic and stuff. So another thing also to look at before we go to the other side of the ball, I've noticed with the Chiefs defense, Brian Flores, the Vikings defense, and Todd Bowles a little bit. So like the blitzers, I would call them the blitzing defensive coordinators. Watch first downs and how much they blitz a DB on first down. And their stats bear this out. They have the highest blitz rates on I shouldn't say on first downs, drive starters, the first play of the drive. Watch how frequently they blitz a corner or a safety. I'm starting to kind of really realize that, because what they're doing is trying to end the drive right away. Get that sack and boom, it's 2nd and 18 and we're done. Hey, might as well just turn the ball over. We're done. So just watch that, though. I really have noticed that they've really ticked it up on first downs, on first plays of drives this year, or as they call it in coaching, P and 10 is what they call that. P and 10, first play of the drive.
Oh man, is that a throwback? I was like, I haven't heard that in a long time.
Oh, it's old school. That is, I mean, that I learned that a long time ago. P and 10, because I was always like, "What's P and?" Because they'd have the breakdowns. I'd be like, "What's P and 10 mean?" It means first play of the drive. So just look for that. I noticed that's a tell with Flores because Ben Johnson really, like, I would say abused it, but took advantage of it a couple times last week. I was like, oh, you had some calls here ready for those. Like, here comes the corner blitz. Here comes the safety blitz. Like I thought it was interesting, but so make sure to look for that. I'm God, this game is just so curious to me because I know the Colts are good, and I think the Chiefs are better than people realize because obviously they're Chiefs, but also their underlying stats are pretty good. So I'm just curious how they both kind of answer this bell. So let's go to the other side of the ball. Chiefs offense, honestly, one of the best offenses in the NFL. I know that doesn't seem that way, but they are. I know. And again, on rewatch, I felt a lot better about what they were doing against the Broncos than I did in the heat of the moment. Like they're drawing a bunch of PIs now this year. That's a big difference what they've done in the last few years. There's a bunch of other things. Going against a Colts defense that's more average-ish, slightly below average in some ways, slightly above average in other ways, but now has Sauce Gardner, which I think will be a very interesting guy for them. Already had some moments already. But what are you thinking about this side of the ball, which I think will be a nice proving ground game for both sides?
Until I started looking more at like the Colts offense, my initial reaction to looking at like where the Chiefs offense was, like you hear the Jaws music playing in your background. It's like, oh, they're coming. But Chiefs defense is going to have to handle business. But if the Chiefs defense can handle their business, and man, I think this could be a pretty big game for Patrick Mahomes in their offense. And I think that the Chiefs offense is kind of interesting this year, like where some of their value has come, because a lot of their value has come on like 3rd and 4th down, which is fine. I think that's an okay way to live when Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback. When you look at 1st and 2nd down stats, they're close to like 7th, but when you pair it all together, it's like basically just behind the Colts in terms of overall production on offense, which I know it doesn't feel like that sometimes. And especially when you come off a game last week against the Broncos, it probably doesn't feel like that either. But Broncos defense is a lot better than the Colts defense. And I don't think you're going to see the same problems in terms of like just gloved up coverage on the back end, the pass rush ability on the front end, and just all types of disruption where it feels like, coming out of that game at 19 points kind of felt like a miracle by the time it was over. But it's going to be a lot easier this week. And I kind of just wanted to focus on the Chiefs' like 3rd and 4th down performance this year, because the Colts have been really bad in those high leverage spots. Their successful play rate on rushing attempts on 3rd and 4th down, the Colts are giving up an 80% clip, 0.6 EPA per rush on 3rd and 4th down. So, sometimes like those aren't necessarily.
That's not what I would expect out of them. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
on the high leverage downs, they're giving up almost a full point of value per rush, like, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. It's funny because the Chiefs, they don't have the most explosive running game, but they have a running game that's perfect when it needs to be, right? So Kareem Hunt is, he's not going to break off like those 30-yard runs maybe he was 6-7 years ago. But when it's 4th and 2, there might not be another person that you want with the ball in his hands right now, because he's going to get you those 3 yards and not a down more. When you get down to the red zone, the Colts defense on 3rd and 4th down, 31st in successful play rate. They're 29th overall in 3rd and 3 conversion rate. So there's some spots where I think the Chiefs can do some drive extendings of their own, because they have kind of figured out how to play, life on the edge on 3rd down, and the Chiefs defense hasn't been, the Colts defense hasn't been all that productive in this standpoint. So, it's like, man, they should score a whole lot of points, but it just matters like how often are they going to be able to hold onto the ball. I kind of feel that same way about both sides. Like maybe this is one of those situations where you look back and it's like, wow, each team averaged almost 3 points per drive, but the final score was like 24-21 or 27-24 or something like that. Because
right. They're moving the ball, but
I can't imagine a world where both of these offenses are like, or both these teams are cool with the other team just having the ball, because it's a bad situation on both fronts. But I do think it's a worse situation for the Colts defense than the Chiefs defense, even though the Chiefs defense has a little bit of a harder task this week.
I think you summed that up perfectly. This was one of the harder games I've had in a while to preview, as far as where I had something definitive to say, because that's how I feel. Because it's just like I trust the Colts offense for the most part, but they just have some pumpkinness to it just in case, that I'm gonna keep my eye on. And the Chiefs, it's like, well, I can trust this run game in the weirdest way, even if it's not explosive. Kingsley Suamataia is also hurt. He has a concussion. But I do trust the run game. They have the lowest stuff rate by any NFL offense since at least 2002. So they don't take negatives. So they just stay ahead of the chains. And I keep comparing Kareem Hunt to old Leroy Horde, who's this old Browns and Vikings running back, because he was his famous line was, "You block it for 8, I get you 3. You block it for 1, I get you 3," or it might have been 4. But he was the classic guy, and that's what Hunt is for this offense. And their explosive pass rate is, I think, better. I know people see the failed deep balls. They're at the threshold to be a competitor. They're at 14% explosive pass rate. That's exactly what you need. 13.9. Okay, rounding up. But they have the highest rushing success rate for a Chiefs offense since Mahomes started. So his first year starting in 2018, this is the best run game as far as efficiency-wise. Yes, they don't get those explosives. They also have a low turnover rate, the lowest turnover rate that Mahomes has ever had as a starter. They get those stay on base, get on base, stay ahead of the chains run game. it's a weird offense that I don't know. It's almost a little boring, but it works. And it's a little better than last year's version of boring because they actually do have some speed. Tyquan Thornton still is their best deep ball threat. And I think he's legit good at it now. I'm willing to give him credit. It's not just a blip or whatever. Like Xavier Worthy, I'm just done with his deep balls because he just gets swallowed up like a sparrow with a hawk eating him alive. Like Riley Moss looked gigantic next to Xavier Worthy. And Riley Moss is like good size, but like he looked ginormous next to him. And he was just like, he got flagged for one. And it was like, he didn't do anything. Sorry, I'm over those deep balls to Xavier Worthy. So it's just like, just go to Tyquan Thornton. That's it. I'm done with them. And Travarius Ward and Sauce Gardner both playing. Travarius Ward now come back from concussion. That's significant as well. But I mean, this Chiefs offense, again, I know sometimes you have to find a balance with the eye test and underlying stats. And now we're getting a good sample size. Now we're seeing where opponents are as far as how much adjusting we have to do with how good an offense is, how good of a defense is. These are the top two teams right now in scoring rate on drives. Colts won, and the Chiefs are scoring on 49% of their drives. Like that's freaking elite. And I know it doesn't feel that way all the time, but this is why I'm not out on them. And I actually consider them more or less the AFC favorite. And I think that's why Vegas has them as 3.5 point favorites. I know some of that is, Chiefs are Chiefs, but it's like, they're a much better team than I think you realize. I know the Colts are too, but they're third in DVOA, all this stuff. I will say, might be a Travis Kelce game. The Colts are 31st in success rate on tight end targets this year. 87 plays. They allow, well, it's defensively, so I have to reverse this in my head. They allow a 62.1% success rate on tight end targets this year, which makes sense. Some of the linebacker play and everything in coverage and all that. So it might be a Travis Kelce game because now we got the healthy Colts corners as well. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I have more questions than the answers on this, but I do want to kind of emphasize that this Chiefs offense is a lot better. There's not as many I don't have as many concerns as maybe other people do, and I think the sky is falling. I think this offense is top 6 anyway you shake it.
It's just weird because I find myself struggling with this too because I've never seen them in this spot before since Mahomes has been the starter. Like they're always 8-1, 9-2, like at this point in the season. Yeah. Last year like 11-0, like screaming towards the end. And now they're 5-5. But when you just look at the overall performance, they're performing a lot better than like a typical 5-5 team does, which I know is not like conventional wisdom, but this team has about the same record as the Miami Dolphins. Come on now, like they're better than the Dolphins. I hope you do. I hope you do. They got a similar record.
You're listening to the show, you do.
Yeah, they got one less win than the Carolina Panthers. Yeah, they got one less win than the Panthers. Man, like the record is not always the cleanest, but they also it's also on them to get these wins across. Like what happened in Jacksonville is like inexcusable at the end of that game. If you are a team that's trying to get back and win a Super Bowl. And I really do think that's the biggest one. You probably can stomach some of those early season Chargers and Eagles loss, but like the Jaguars one is the one you're looking back at like, man, if we were 6-4 going to this game, you maybe feel like you could drop this one and still have a good chance to accomplish what you need. But now you're at a spot where like you need to stop the best offense in football, which is going to be tough. But hey, I am excited to see what it looks like with their backs like actually against the walls, trying to just make the playoffs, not even try to like get a number 1 seed, just make the playoffs. So I am excited from that standpoint.
I am too. I would say my last kind of closing thought on this is that I think where you do feel a little bit where the Chiefs aren't normal is third down. Mahomes has just been so incredible on third down throughout his entire career. Him and Josh Allen just been incredible. Like he's had rates over 50% on third down, which is absurd. This year it's at 41%, which is like not bad. It's just like more like 10th, 11th, that range as opposed to 1 or 2. And so, they're getting all these short third downs and because they're just staying ahead of the chains, but they're just not putting over the top on third down. So it's kind of funny. Like that's actually where they've dropped off, which is more just, I think to me, if I'm just assessing them, it's because they lack size at receiver outside Rashee Rice and Juju a little bit. And Travis Kelce has dropped off just a little bit, so you're not getting those creation plays. So like that's the thing too, is like how they beat man coverage and all that. So that's the other thing kind of kept my eye on with them. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun game. I'm pretty fired up for this one. But predictions: Chiefs 3.5 point favorites, like I said, at home.
I think the Chiefs get it done on the last drive. Game-winning field goal as time expires. That's what I'm going to give them. So I'll give the Chiefs win, Colts cover the spread.
That was my exact prediction. Same exact thing. Think this is think both offenses have some grinded out drives. Like I think this is going to be a lot of grindy drives, and then it's just going to kind of come down. Maybe that one turnover game, classic kind of who takes care of the ball. It feels like that, right? It feels like a playoff game of like who takes care of the ball. That's two good teams. That's how it goes.
I said this could be one of those games that's over in sub 3 hours. It could be.
Yeah. Pragmatic start. Yeah. I agree with that. Barnwell noticed this, but he had an article talking about kind of like contenders that maybe weren't or perceived contenders like being 500 at midseason or a losing record at midseason and the runs that they can go on. In 2019, that's when Mahomes got the injury on the QB sneak against the Broncos. That year, the Chiefs were 6-4 in week 10, and then they proceeded to win 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 straight games on their way to the Super Bowl. So that's the thing. And I think the underlying stats for this Chiefs team are actually better than that Chiefs team in the weirdest way. Not as explosive passing, but the run game is better, and defensively they're better.